Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's begin tonight's conversation. And first, we'll touch on the issue on Sowore, Omoyele Sowore's arraignment and that of Mr. Bakari. I have joining me from our Abuja studio, Dr. West Idahosa, a former member of the House of Representatives and a lawyer in policy and governance expert. And as well as Mr. Aliyu Abdullahi, he's the vice chairman of the Buhari Support Group and a lawyer. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on tonight. Let me begin with you tonight on the program, Honorable West Idahosa. How do you see or assess what transpired today in court when Sowore, after the proceeding in court, what we saw on camera, the way it was being carried, and the proceeding when the charges were read to him today? What's your take on his eventual arraignment in court today?
Well, I think it was nice to arraign him so that he can have a chance to make his case before the court and defend himself. But what was not nice to see was the way that he was being manhandled by security agencies when he tried to explain the reason why he was in court and to make some clarifications. I think that was very, very uncivilized. Otherwise, the arraignment is in order. He gets a good chance to defend himself and then, of course, subject himself to the due process of law.
Is it a standard practice in a courtroom or out in the premises of court when an accused person is leaving the court premises, is within the frame of the law, accused person allowed to entertain questions from journalists? Is that a standard practice? Is it allowed?
There is nothing that prohibits that. And don't forget, this is a special trial. This is a trial that is political in nature. And the particular accused person is, of course, not just an activist. He's also a politician with huge followership in the country. So when you have such a situation, you will have to allow some compromise to allow the accused person some level of communication with those who believe in him, those who share his philosophies, given the fact that he has been held incommunicado for a number of days. There was absolutely nothing illegal about making a few statements to the media.
Is there any kind of infraction that can be drawn into this by what those who are dragging him or those who are pulling him out of that thing? Is that an infringement on his right, or what? How would you describe what has happened within the frame of the law?
Well, it's a 50-50 situation. To those who pull him out, they will say they have a charge to take custody of him and to ensure that he does not take the liberty of being surrounded by his supporters to escape from custody. To Sowore, who was being dragged all over, his dignity was subjected to levels beyond the acceptable limit of the protection of the right to dignity. So either way, it depends on which side you belong to. You can then take your case from that point of view.
Mr. Aliyu Abdullahi, let me come to you. In this kind of politically inclined or tilted case, in the case of Mr. Sowore, obviously a lot of people know that it does not stand politically in the same place with President Muhammadu Buhari, whom he has critically criticized before the election. And what we have seen today in the courtroom, how do you suppose these will come to a lot of Nigeria in terms of perception of the government of the day?
Well, thank you, Sharon, for having me. I don't see what played in court today as something that will impact on the generality of the government or on the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. To be honest, there are distinct, these are institutions who are doing their own work, trying to make sure that they actually function within their mandate. That is, I mean, the Department of the State Services, who produced Sowore to the court, and also, like Honorable West Idahosa said, they may actually be also careful about what will happen within the confine of the court if he is embroiled with with the supporters and things like that. It could also be for his own safety, because you know when there are mob of people, crowd of people, you don't know who is a supporter, who is there, that may likely wish him harm or so. So I think it's kind of a protection for his own safety as well. I don't think that has anything to do with the perception on the administration. And if anything, at least he's presented to court, which is a good thing. He's going to have his day in court. His bail hearing is on Friday. That speaks a lot to the perception, of the administration. If he's been kept, for example, after the 45 days that was allowed from the previous court order, and then he was not presented to court on another charge for arraignment, then we could start saying this is a negative perception on the administration of President Muhammad Buhari. But that's not the case here, actually.
But again, is the argument, some of those who have criticized the reason why Omoyele Sowore has not been allowed to go home after the court has clearly allowed him bail before this arraignment today. For the CGN, for example, who said flagrant abuse of court orders will not be allowed within the Nigerian judiciary. The president was in New York also, who says that he will uphold the rule of law and it will not allow anyone to rubbish the Nigeria legal system. In the face of this, Mr. Abdullahi, a lot of people who have criticized the government of the day, perhaps in this particular situation, how would you then react to the perception, perhaps, on the issues of the abuse of the rule of law and the disrespect to court orders?
Well, Sheun, the truth of the matter is, look here, I'm a lawyer. I would never advocate for disobedience to court orders. I think all court orders must be and should be obeyed by all institutions, be it the executive or wherever that court order fall on. But at the same time also, let's be practical. We live in a practical world, and things are not perfect. Even governments are not perfect. That's one thing we have to understand. There are also cases where you have to also weigh in the national security interest, vis-a-vis the individual rights. Yeah, you may not be the arbiter or the person that will determine which of these rights, the national security interest rights of the collective people in a country, whether it trumps the individual's right, or shall the individual's right actually continue to be upheld. I know that the government, the executive arm, should not be the one to make a call on that. But notwithstanding that, you see, not too long ago, we had the case of, Nnamdi Kanu, who was actually released on bail. Where is he today? Some people actually made a case for him to be released on bail. Some actually stood as sureties for him, and he has absconded since. He is somewhere, nowhere, nobody knows where exactly he is, and you can see the amount of damage. At least he has been meting out on the country, on the person of the president. You have seen what they have done in Germany on the person of the distinguished Senator Ike Koromadu. He and his IPOB supporters.
Sorry, I need to butt
the plan
in.
they had in Japan.
Yeah, I need to butt in. Let's go on this break. When we come back, we'll also look at what Pastor Tunde Bakare said about Vice President Osinbajo, who is after the VP's job. We'll look at that and the politics in the APC ahead of 2023. Don't go anywhere, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get back to the conversation. Let me quickly get Honorable West Idahosa's view before we get into the politics of 2023 and the politics of the Aso Rock Villa. In summary, how would you paint the picture of what has happened in the case of the bail condition, which the lawyers to Mr. Sowore said he has perfected, and the fact that he's not been allowed to go home? And they did say that the DSS was frustrating their efforts in making sure that they are served with the court order. And in the light of what has happened also in court about a journalist activist, Mr. Onuma, who was said to have been invited by the DSS for explanation on a T-shirt that he wore. In general, what's your view on the issues of rule of law and Nigeria's democracy, and perhaps the handling and treatment of citizens in Nigeria?
Well, Shewa, I have to be honest with you. I think there's growing intolerance on the part of government to criticism and the expression of views of citizens in Nigeria. This is very unhealthy for democracy, and given the struggle that people put together to bring in this government as an epistle of change, I think it's disheartening that we are witnessing this. I would expect that people should be able to speak freely without having to put the government on harm's way. I want to say with the greatest respect that the government itself should encourage more Jojo than war. It's better to speak out, it's better to criticize the government than to take up AK-47 rifles and be engaged in banditry and all sort of narrow troubleism. So I think that to do this, the government should allow people to speak, be less hard on opponents, because with their views, you can get more ideas to move your government forward. That's my take, and this is good for democracy.
Well, let's get a final opinion on this one, and that's going to be from Mr. Abdullahi on the perception. You heard what Honorable West Idahosa says. He's one of those who feel this way about the issues of rule of law and how the federal government is handling things. What's your reaction to that?
I don't share the same sentiments or views with Honorable West Idahosa about the growing intolerance of criticisms by this government. If any, I think this government has actually done quite well in handling such criticisms. I mean, people all the time talk. Go to the social media. You see a lot of people attacking this government. If it is about talk only, I don't think Mr. Sowore will have found himself in the situation he is today. If you just talk like Honorable West Idahosa advocated, let's Jojo and not go, that is fine. But when you actually go beyond talking, and then when you call for a change of government, and I have listened to Sowore, from a sister station, where he was asked the question, Ruben Abati asked him the question, do you mean just revolution as in protest or as in change of government? And he clearly answered that he meant change of government. So there is no government in this whole world that will have this kind of situation and will fold its arms until the battle comes to its front door. Nobody will have accepted that. That is the truth of the situation. People have been criticizing this government. They have gone even beyond criticizing, insulting the president and the administration. We have them, I don't want to mention names here, but nothing has happened to them. No one has dragged them to court.
Let's anchor on that matter.
So that is
I like us to quickly touch on another matter quickly, and it's going to be about the politics of the Aso Villa. On Sunday, charismatic Christian leader, Pastor Tunde Bakare of the Lateran Assembly, a church in the Ogba area of Lagos, says the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, must not be disgraced and humiliated out of office, except he was truly and flagrantly violated his oath of office, which he says he finds difficult to believe. Take a listen to a portion of that statement by Pastor Tunde Bakare.
Man will care about what bothers him most or bites him hardest. My concern presently is that come rain, come shine, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, must not be disgraced and humiliated out of office, except he has truly and flagrantly violated his oath of office, which I find difficult to believe.
Honorable West Idahosa, weighing on this one. Who do you think are those people after Professor Osinbajo's job?
Well, I don't know, but the truth is that Osinbajo's job enjoys constitutional flavor. It's not a tea party. Getting the vice president out of office is not a joke. It's a very tough assignment for anyone. So whether it's an imaginary cabal, whoever it might be, he's got a big job in his hand, and he might not be able to do that till the end of 2023. That's my
Do
immediate
you
take on that.
perceive, Honorable Wesley Idahosa, do you perceive that there's probably a breakdown in the relationship or working relationship between the number one man and the number two man?
Well, from what they say, it doesn't appear apparent. I don't think there's a problem within the president and the vice president. At best, perhaps the hangers-on in office and this imaginary kitchen cabinet might be stoking up these differences. But looking at the last official activity of the vice president when he presided over certain institutional bodies while the president was in the United Nations, it doesn't seem to me that there is a problem. And the vice president has not notified the public that he is endangered.
Honorable, Mr. Aliyu Abdullahi, give us your take from the insider perspective. What is happening in your party? There seems to be some storm, and the VP has come out to say he's ready to waive his immunity. Legally speaking, we know what this means. And when the VP is coming out to say this kind of thing, that means that all may not be well.
Well, thank you. See, when he made mention of that in a tweet, I think he was responding specifically to a particular person. That's Timmy Frank, who is not from this party. May I repeat that? He is with Atiku, and PDP. He actually alleged something that the vice president felt strongly about tarnishing his own reputation. And he said for him to actually pursue a case against this individual, he is even willing to actually waive his immunity, even though he doesn't need to do that for him to actually bring a case against anybody who actually impugned on his reputation. And then about the issue of whether there was a problem between the number one citizen and his deputy. From insider's perspective, as you actually called for, I don't think so. I don't see so. And I think people read meanings into things because of the minor restructuring, or let me even say major restructuring that happened within the affairs of governance. And this is all to ensure an efficient and effective service delivery to Nigerians. So if, for example, things have happened the other way in the last 4 years, and now the government felt the need that we need to, after reviewing how things have gone, to do things differently. I don't see why people will see it as an attack on the person of the vice president.
Let's leave it at that. For the kind of job that I personally do here, I hear a lot. I'd like you to do some more research on what is happening in your party, Mr. Aliyu Abdullahi. But we'll leave it at that tonight. Many thanks, Honorable Wesley Idahosa, for coming on, a policy and governance expert, a lawyer and a former member of the House of Representatives, and Mr. Aliyu Abdullahi, the vice chairman of the Buhari Media Group and a lawyer. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on tonight. That's our show, everyone. Many thanks for watching. Tomorrow is Independence. Happy Independence, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.